You know that feeling when someone shows up for you just when you need it most? That's what Uber is all about. Not just a ride or dinner at your door. It's how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter. Because showing up can turn a tough day around or make a good one even better. Whatever it is, big or small, Uber is on the way. So you can be on yours. Uber, on our way.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can even finish the bachelor's degree you started in 22 months for $20,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
I wanted to turn to 2 political experts who we're going to talk about a range of issues. I'm talking about John Fund. You all know John Fund. He's a regular on this show. He is a columnist in the National Review, many, many years, one of the chief political correspondents on the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. It also works with me at Unleash Prosperity. And Phil Kerpen, who is the president of American Commitment. You see his articles all of the time, all over the place. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining. I want to talk about 2 issues with you all, and I want to start with Harvard. Harvard University, our greatest university, they are under assault, and I think deservedly so. For people who haven't been following this story, Harvard gets billions of dollars of federal aid each year in terms of research grants, in terms of student loans, all of this money that we pour into our universities. And Trump wants to cut them off. And Harvard has very indignantly and self-righteously said, no, we're going to sue the federal government because we have to get this money. At the same time, Harvard has a $56 billion endowment that they haven't been using to reduce tuition. They have one of the highest tuitions in the country. Phil Kerpen, let me start with you. You know, we've been tough on Harvard because I don't think they should be getting federal money. What do you think?
Well, Steve, this is one of the biggest, most successful business ventures in the country. And of course, they've got kind of a university attached to secure their nonprofit status. But
right, exactly.
That's not the principal business that they're in, obviously.
We shouldn't even call them a nonprofit institution. You're right. They're a big financial institution with all that money.
Yeah, absolutely. And, but here's the thing, for many decades, the left has used the government to dictate all kinds of left-wing things that they want on campus and all kinds of standards for all kinds of things. And conservative schools that did not want to go along with that, Grove City College, Hillsdale, and so forth, they had to say, we're not taking any federal dollars. Yes. So I don't know how everyone is so outraged now when all Trump is asking for is a little bit of political neutrality, and they're going crazy.
So let me just interrupt you for 1 second because you're making a very important point, Phil, which is that for those who know Hillsdale College, which is a conservative college, I think the 3 of us have all been on campus there to give lectures. That's in Michigan. And they take, John Fund, no federal money because they want to say what they want to say, and they don't want to have to abide by some of the crazy federal rules. And I respect them for that. But now Harvard is saying, well, we should be able to say whatever we want, and we should be able to take federal money.
Yes, and Hillsdale isn't alone. Grove City College and various others follow the same path. I agree that when you take the king's shilling, you have to accept the king's rules. Mm-hmm. However, I think the Trump people, like in a lot of things, are operationally correct, but tactically they went a little too far. For example, when they talked about diversity on the college campus, they basically said you should hire more conservatives. I don't think that kind of micromanaging is what the federal government should be all about.
Right. I agree.
So I think the real issue here is this. Harvard, as Phil says, has to decide what exactly are you? Are you a series of research institutions which can stand on your own, and frankly, they do a lot of good work? Are you a university for basically pampered kids, or are you basically a big business? And if you want to take federal money, you're going to have to take the federal rules.
Well put. Now, I am a supply sider. I'm a flat tax guy. I believe we should have a broad tax base, Phil Kerpen, but a low tax rate. one of the biggest forms of leakages in our tax system is all of this money, that $55 billion that's gone to Harvard. And if you look at all the universities, their endowments are well over $800 billion. Almost none of that money has ever been taxed. I have a problem with that. So I've been basically saying, and I'd like your reaction to this, Bill, maybe we should put why should it be tax-free that you put the money in these institutions when they have so much money already? I don't understand the logic of it.
Well, I'm a little bit ambivalent on this, I have to tell you. I have strong feelings in both directions because on the one hand, I agree with you. Universities and hospitals, by the way, are both largely nonprofit, and they're also the two entities that have had the largest price increases by far over the last several decades. They farm massive amounts of government subsidies. And by the way, if the left is right that rising prices are indicative of corporate greed, then the greediest corporations in America are the universities and the hospitals, right? Now, all of that said, I run a nonprofit, and if we lost our tax status, that would be very challenging for me. And so I am ambivalent for personal reasons.
Yeah. Okay. John Fund, what do you say?
It's very simple. If you have an endowment of $50 billion, what exactly are you doing? You're basically running a giant hedge fund.
Right.
So
that's what
the point is, Phil's nonprofit basically doesn't have an endowment. It operates year to year. It has to satisfy its donors. Harvard doesn't have to satisfy its donors. It has so much money, it could buy countries. So I believe that if you hoard your cash as much as Harvard, Yale, and the others do, you can expect someone to come and give you a haircut from it.
Yeah. So where do you see? I agree with what you were saying, John, before about I don't like the idea of the government sort of telling these universities, look, if they want to have a liberal philosophy, it's a free country. They should be able to do that. I don't want to dictate what speech is allowed and what speech is not allowed. Although the irony, of course, is that these universities, Phil, are the very places that have had these speech codes on their campus. You can say this word, but not that word, and this and that. So they've been some of the greatest violators of free speech. And now they're saying, the federal government's violating our free speech rights.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate for the government to say if you take federal funds, then your standard for speech on campus should be the First Amendment, right? It would not be appropriate for them to say you need to censor this, that, or the other thing. And so I don't think the government can tell them to censor, but I think they can and should tell them not to censor if they're going to take federal funds.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
So I was just using, by the way, John, Harvard as an example because they're the biggest example. But you have about 30 or 40 major universities that have endowments of over $1 billion. So this isn't just an issue affecting Harvard, although they've been in the headlines, but it affects Northwestern, Duke, Columbia, Yale, Princeton, the University of Texas system. But it just seems to me that these universities have moved so far to the radical left that they shouldn't be surprised that there's been kind of a pullback.
Right. And by the way, they could do something with that money that they're hoarding. And I know that some of them are saying, if you have a family income up to a certain point, we'll make it tuition free. But why not then take some of their money and perhaps support the high schools and the junior high schools that really need support, that don't send their kids to Harvard, and frankly they could support school choice programs. In other words, they have this money, and it's basically just to invest and earn more money. I think if they want to be part of the community, they should become involved in part of the community and helping it. And that includes getting kids educated before they go to university.
So a great point, John. Phil, I want to just tangent off this a little bit, but this is related to our discussion. The NFL draft is going on right now, and my phone keeps pinging because this guy was just picked in the 6th round, 7th round. And, these universities have become, they've become basically professional football teams that happen to have a bunch of kids running around on campus, with this new, paying the players. Some of the players are making more money not going into the professional NFL than staying in college. I see some of these quarterbacks are making $3 or $4 million a year. The coaches make millions of dollars. I'm not against people making money, but are these even nonprofit? They're almost becoming commercial enterprises.
Yeah, almost every state now, the highest paid employee of the state is a football coach at the state university. And so, these. And by the way,
I should say, Phil, I love college football, so I'm not so sure why it's all tax free.
Right. I mean, it's big business. It's big business, and it's actually basketball and football have by far the best minor leagues because they use the colleges that people care about. I mean, no one cares about minor league baseball or hockey because it's not structured like that. And so it's brilliant the way it's evolved, and it's a great product. And frankly, I think college basketball and football are in some ways better to watch than the pros even.
Me too.
So I don't begrudge them any of that money, but you're right. It is it's a fraud of sorts that is categorized as nonprofit and run out of these universities.
So, John, how do you see this all playing out? I mean, this is a big battle between, the federal government and Harvard and some of our biggest universities. How do you see it playing out?
I think all the court precedents are that the federal government has for 60 years, ever since the Civil Rights Act and various other things, been able to impose standards on universities. And I cannot believe that if you go through, you might get a district court to disagree, but I cannot believe that the appeals courts and the Supreme Court would challenge that and say they have a right to do whatever they want and accept taxpayer money at the same time.
Should be one or the other. One quick issue I wanted to ask you each about. We only have about 3 or 4 minutes left. We've covered in this in the Unleashed Prosperity Hotline. By the way, everybody should get that. Just go to unleashedprosperity.com and get it for free. But this issue of the Federal Trade Commission and some of the Trump appointees really attacking, Phil, our top technology companies with some of these bogus lawsuits calling them monopolies, even though they're lowering prices. What do you make of this?
Well, it's interesting. The left hates these companies because the left hates all successful companies, right? And we saw, all of these lawsuits against them during the Biden administration, which were, kind of crazy. And, they keep saying that Facebook and Google and Apple and Amazon are all monopolies, except these companies all compete with each other, right? And so it's like, what are you, it is sort of a bizarro world aspect to it. with the Republicans, it's different. It's not that they're anti-business as a matter of ideology the way the left is. It's they think these companies hate them because they're conservatives, which might be true, by the way, and they want revenge. And they haven't really, they're putting that sort of impulse for revenge ahead of kind of principle. And it's very unfortunate because it's so destructive economically. Like, I get the political impulse, but it's so destructive economically. And this is a time where Europe is trying to destroy these companies and levying hundreds of millions of dollars in bogus fines. Yes, I know.
And, we're playing right into the hands of Europe and China. And China, by the way. China would love it if we take down our technology companies because they want to overtake Google and Meta and Apple and Amazon.
But, Steve, I have a message for these companies, too, which is the Democrats will always hate you. So stop siding with them and giving 90% of your funds
there
to
you
them
go.
And make it at least 50-50.
I love that. Okay, John Fund, we literally have 90 seconds left. I just got a text from one of our listeners, and I thought you'd be the perfect person to answer this because you are the political pro. This person texted me and said, the polls that I've been talking about the Trump's, he's declined in the polls. This person says, well, those polls dramatically oversample Democratic voters. Is that true, or what do you think?
Some of them are bad polls, but I'll tell you an example. Fox News has a new poll out, and what it shows is not that Trump is unpopular so much as it is he's losing steam on some key issues that he campaigned on. Only 33% approval for his work on inflation, only 33% of his approval for work on tariffs. Now, he's doing very well on immigration, and he's doing very well on controlling the border, but the key here, Steve, that the polls are picking up is not that Trump is unpopular. It is they worry about the consistency and the predictability, and that's certainly happening in the markets.
Yeah, great point. Well, that's John Fund. John Fund from National Review. You see him all the time in the Wall Street Journal. John, thanks for joining. And, of course, Phil Kerpen, who runs American Commitment and also works with me at Unleash Prosperity. Great points, guys. Thanks for joining on a Saturday afternoon.